YouTube. How are we? We are in for upper today. Before I go through my upper session, we're also week 4 fake natty. So we're into week 4. I haven't injected now for what will be, this is week 4. We are today Tuesday. So it's getting close to true TRT session now. So we'll take you through it. I'm still trying to really prioritize the areas that need more loving than the others within this, which hopefully we'll see as we go through the session. As always, a couple of tricks and tips along the way. And now we're getting into the deeper bit of the TRT, the real TRT phase. This is where I'd say the magic really happens, because this is ultimately the gap between the cycle you've been on and the cycle you're going to go on. So this is where you're either going to maybe keep things as they are or as close to it as you can, maybe a little bit of progress, or you're just going to go like that. And if you go like that in between your cycles, all that's going to happen is your next cycle gets you back to where you were. So it's not as fun, you're not as super strong, you're not as like, let's go. But it's such an important part. So we're into movement number 1. This bad boy. Oh. Nice. 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 Yeah. Nice. Natty power. Oh. Fuck. Atlantis narrow grip press first. Trying to really get as much tricep action in there as I can. Now I'm onto a nice incline press. So I'd say when it comes to like programming your upper sessions, I'd say looking at depending on what equipment you have, but in general, looking at the trade-off for every movement that you have and what order you do them in. So I would find that if I did all my back stuff first and then tried to do chest, it'd be pretty shit. Versus if I do chest first, then back. Whereas like my delts, I could do them at the top, in the middle, at the bottom, and they're gonna be nice and consistent throughout. So when I look at the program order for me, chest, back, and then delts. Arms at the end. So something to think about, natural or not, is even almost like have a play around with the same workout, but do it in different orders and see which way it goes. I'd also say an element of priorities in play as well, but that'll also usually correlate with a stronger body part anyway. So like my back, stronger than my chest probably. So it kind of makes sense that the chest needs to go first as well. So there's also that to consider. And I would always still prioritize the muscle group that you need to focus on more, sort of regardless of the performance aspect as well. So the little tip for your chest pressing is when you chest press, whatever it may be, try to imagine that you're actually trying to push yourself backwards, as opposed to just focusing on pushing the weight forward. So if you're thinking about pushing yourself backwards, what you're going to do straight away, you're going to keep the shoulder blades back, which is a nice strong position from an injury prevention point of view. But when we look at trying to use the chest to press, we want to try and get that chest as big as we can. And if you're imagining pushing yourself back into the bench, you're keeping this nice and open. Whereas if you're just thinking about pushing up from here, the shoulders are going to round off. Chance of injury increases in the shoulder, obviously. But also, you're making the chest smaller without using the muscle, because you're actually just moving your arms. So I like to think, bring my head back and my neck back, and you can see me physically bring myself backwards into the bench with my neck and my many double chins in this off season. As opposed to thinking, push, think, drive back and in. If you give it a go, let me know. If you think it's shit, also let me know. Oh, yes. Oh. That is how you know you've loaded the that is when you know you know when you've loaded the prime correctly, is when you're at failure, but you can just keep going. That's when you know you've got the correct balance. If you're failing right at the bottom, means you've got it too heavy at top. Something to bear in mind. If you have got the prime, the goal is true failure, but you get into this point, not just dying here. Set was so good I can't speak. Yeah. Cameron! Holy. Oh. On to the next one. Chest dippy, dip. Smashing it. So next up is the chest dippy dip. Gonna do 2 sets. And then I really need to start to assess recovery a little bit now. The not so fun bit about TRT is that my chest recovery, it's like I just started training again. So I'll keep it at 6 sets, see how I recover. It's Tuesday today. I'm due to push on Friday. I'll be like, okay, how's it feeling? If it's a little bit sore, then this time next week, I'll drop out 1 set of the dip. And then it's the same with the Friday session, see how I assess and go from there. Ideally, in between your phases, you want to try and keep the volume where it is, but you have to be realistic as well. I've also dropped my growth hormone down, and so of course that capability to recover is going to be less. So we just got to take that into account. But today, 2 sets, see how we go. Oh, yeah. Whoa. It's intense. So when it comes to the dip, see how much I'm really concentrating first and foremost. The second thing, when it comes to it, just being really aware of like that range of motion. Did you hopefully you saw like really trying to get as deep as I can here. One of the benefits of the dip, with it being a bit of a tricep dominant movement as well, but your range of motion to stretch the pecs is so much greater here and still safe, obviously compared to here. So you can actually stretch much further and just own that stretch, because it's also a pretty risky move in terms of injury as well. So if you go a bit too heavy and you can't get to that range, whams if you fail, you know, a bit of a sticky one still. So something to bear in mind. And it feels a lot better slower as well, in my opinion. Onto back. We've gone akimbo on that today. All right. Bit of an elbow ripper, but get Lauren on that, be all right. So when you are doing your pull down, you want to keep it more with the like the lats and the teres. We make sure we stay here and here. As soon as you start doing this, what are you going to start using? Your upper back. It's going to become more of a row. So we want to try and stay in this position for lats and teres, like a pull down. But if you're starting to struggle and you're in this position here, that's just going to be all traps, upper back. Not as much with what you're trying to do with your pull down. Next up for us, T-bar. Big dollar. Right. At the moment, me and Mr. Bridgman have a competition on the T-bar, because we've got the same T-bar at the gym that we both train at. So we're having an international T-bar off. I saw him last time sneak a 5 on the 5, so we have to beat him and remind him on TRT as well. Everything will go away. Pressure's on. Easy money. We've got 7. Your turn. Josh. God, fuck me up. Woo. So when it comes to the back work for this, 2 sets of a bit of an everything pull down, a bit of lats, a bit of terries, into a nice sort of across the midline, a little bit of rear down there, and then we'll be on to the prime for a bit of this in a minute. Oh, upper sessions. Ah. I think when it comes to back training, well, when it comes to any training, we're trying to load the stretch up as much as we can, aren't we? And I think things that are chest supported, which just really allow you just to stretch, you know, you've literally got that resistance ripping you that way and allowing you to stretch. I think in terms of back development, as much as you can, some chest supported work undoubtedly will help or has helped my back development. Whereas like when you try and do everything like cable with nothing like supporting your chest or like free weight leaning over, I think that's going to be a solid method to help maybe build up like your erectors. You know, if I'm in this position here, erector loading, awesome. Whereas like, I'm trying to stretch my lats as much as I can, my rhomboids as much as I can. So something fixed, just driving me forward. I've got a lot more potential to stretch my muscles through there, as opposed to if I try to stretch through something without chest supported, it'd be like my erectors. So that's why you'll see me do a lot of chest supported work. Plaster on the lat. Beth was giving me a little shave on the lats because they get a bit hairy for the going out in the content. I mean, got a little cut a little mole, didn't we? There we go. I just watched it. I was like, oh. Proper stings as well. It takes what it takes. Take what it takes. Whoa. That is upper in the books for what we'll do today, is that chest and back segment. and then we'll cut into the next one, which will be a bit more of like a delt in arms section. Oh, so I hope you enjoyed that fake natty TRT session. It was a solid one, but nothing else. Pretty bad. Whew. So we'll leave it at that. I will catch you in